Is the Roaring Knight a fraud? I very much think so. See, this is a meme a lot of people use to describe the main villain of Deltarune, because for how much aura and mysteriousness he has, he can be beaten by us all the way back in Chapter 3, not even halfway through the game. So this once again begs the question, is the Roaring Knight even powerful? Well, I have 3 points past their introduction that shows us the Knight's true strength. And the last one, I can't even lie, is the nail in the coffin and will fully convince you that this guy is a fraud. So let's start with their first introduction. After enduring an onslaught of fun and games from Mr. Antenna, our heroes go on to fight and spare the main boss of this chapter. So after he gives us a pity party on how nobody loves him or watches him anymore, a tired Tenna gets sneaked in the back, killing him in 2 shots. This is the first true shown power of the Knight, and it's actually not that impressive. The Knight waited until we tired out Antenna, and then stabbed him in the back, only doing 5,800 damage, meaning 2,900 per slash, which is way less than expected from a mysterious all-powerful being. And it didn't even kill him. If you get enough recruits, they can patch Tenna back together effortlessly. So on top of the scummy, not even powerful tactics, this event was already foretold by fate to happen. So if this event was always going to happen, Toby Fox specifically showed us the Knight doing this in a weak setting. A way I would show the Knight being super powerful but still abiding in the prophecy is him going up to an unexhausted Tenna and one-shotting him from the front so he knew it was coming. That and the numbers could actually be 9,999. Now, we don't know if this carries over to Deltarune, but in Undertale, when you attack a monster and they don't expect it, it's always a one-shot. And there is nothing going against this mini-theory, so this powerful moment is anything but, and the Knight really may just be a fraud. But let's move on to the actual fight. With or without the Shadow Mantle, the Knight's strongest attack can't even one-shot Susie. This exemplifies my previous theory that Tenna was on low health and the Knight may not have been able to do what he did unless we fought him first. So on top of doing no damage, the Knight's hard cap for health before they start spazzing out is 1,484. So with this information, Chris can use a fragment of their sword and swing it for more damage than the Knight. And even with all of this, I have still seen YouTube shorts where the Knight can miss his attack. How can you miss? We are standing still! So after Susie goes band for band with the Knight, he decides to use his cutscene powers and hit Susie for 999. Once again, the Knight is so fraudulent that people have theorized that Chris did this, hence why it comes from the left and the Roaring Knight knights them afterward. But even if it was the Knight, Susie is still able to grab their leg, showing that even the numbers might be fake. The Knight then kidnaps Undyne, which is one of the only things I can't slander them for. But it's also no Undyne the Undyne, just base Undyne. Okay, let's move on to the Knight's next most important fraud moment. A moment where at least he knows his place. In Chapter 4, the Knight makes no attempts to fight us, almost undoubtedly because he's getting more and more sure he would lose. You see, every chapter, whether we like it or not, our stats increase, both in damage and in defense. So pairing this with the fact that we already have the Shadow Mantle, the Black Shard, and we know the Knight's attacks now, he knows he can't run it back with us again. That and he knows he can't get anywhere near Gerson. If the soul was struggling on a half-trying version of Gerson, a full-trying Gerson alone would mop the floor with the Roaring Knight. So he snipes from the back, making sure he never gets in too close of contact. When we do, making a very wise decision, he covers his escape by summoning a Titan that is very much stronger than he is, and the Lightners do indeed mop the floor with it. Like, I can't even blame him for that, I would have done the same thing. Story-wise, the fraud didn't even do anything this chapter. He was probably betting Toriel would come back to church so he could try a second time to capture her, but choir practice was cancelled because of the rain. Now let's move on to the most recent and memed upon moment of the Roaring Knights history. The final nail in the coffin, if you will. In Chapter 5, we fight Flowery, the golden and most powerful flower in Asgore's Dark World. He basically defeats us before Asgore comes to our aid and makes Flowery back down. We all apologize and say our goodbyes as you go to seal the fountain. And you do. But nothing changes, signifying that another one has been opened. This, once again and for the last time, sells the narrative that the knight is scared of us, but wants to uphold his mysterious personality. He jumps to steal Asgore, but Flowery easily catches up to him, making him so scared he doesn't see where he's going and runs straight into a wall. This lets Flowey initiate a fight with him where he uses fake stats against the knight, very overkill might I add, and makes him spaz out. But he cheats and negates the damage, and then they clash for a second time without stats this time, and Flowery is holding his own! Yes, an exhausted Flower that is bringing his hands to a sword fight. This had me so geeked when I saw it for the first time because of how much I hated Flowery, but then he just casually locks in. Of course, the knight kills him, but once again, this is no feat of power because you can't even fight Flowery in his main boss fight. He's too weak. And defensively, we can finally confirm that the knight isn't powerful in the slightest. He cheats. He's just your average boss fight injected with raw fake stats. And if you'll let me add to this narrative even more, you can open different dark fountains in different rooms of a building and they will connect. So what I'm thinking is the knight did exactly that, and he could probably sense when a dark fountain closed, just so he could be sure that Flowery has been defeated so he can swoop in and steal Asgore, because he knows he will get disintegrated by Prime Flowery, let alone Asgore on top of that. So let's go over what we've already established. The knight isn't powerful. The knight doesn't have any aura. He's a cheater. A fraud, if you will. So, seeing as you're able to beat him all the way back in Chapter 3 Shadow Mantle list, a Chapter 6 team not even including Noelle should be 2 times stronger already. That, plus Noelle, plus the Shadow Mantle, the Black Shard, the Thorn Ring from an aborted Weird Root, and whatever those Shadow Crystals make from the secret bosses, just one of those things I just listed alone should make another knight fight a walk in the park. I'm more so leaning towards the Thorn Ring because we know stats are useless against a knight. A Snowgrave spell would probably just defeat him. And with all of them combined, you could probably overpower the knight even with all of his cheated stats. An aborted Weird Root Snowgrave Noelle is a frickin' cheat code. It sent a max defense Spamton and a real lightner named Birdly down to the Shadow Realm. So yes, the answer is yes. This guy really does avoid every fight he can, and the ones he does take make him look stupid. He is a fraud. He is a fake demon. He is only powerful because he cheats, which still couldn't make him win a fight against Chapter 3 us. So drop a comment on if you genuinely think the knight is a fraud, and if you did like this video, subscribe and join the Discord. It's a very shameless plugin that enlarges my ego if you do, but it also means a lot to me. Goodbye!